Hey, I'm Tia Gostelow and I'm going to be answering some questions so you can get to know me. And my new album, Head Noise, will be out on August 18th. I feel like I did have to, experiment through my last two albums. And definitely Chrysalis, I really wanted to lean towards the pop side of things a lot more. And I feel like I had to do that to be able to come back to like all of the acoustic guitars and lean more into the kind of folky sound that I started out with. And I really feel like that's definitely made a comeback in Head Noise. So yeah, I do think I did have to kind of separate myself from that kind of style for a little while to be able to come back and make this record. My personal journey from, being a girl and going into a woman has definitely influenced my songwriting. I started out writing in this industry when I was probably 12. My first album came out when I was 18, and the songs on that album were written when I was 15. So I think this being my third album and having a lot more life experience has definitely influenced what I was writing about and what I was talking about. Like there's a song on the album called Killing You, which is about, me being a woman and having to walk home from work late at night and always having to carry keys in my hands because I just constantly felt like there might be someone following me, or just having this feeling in, the back of my throat that someone might be watching me, which is a horrible thing for any woman to feel like, but it's just something that unfortunately a lot of us do feel when we're getting older. So yeah, I definitely think there's things on this album that I've learnt as a woman and things that I probably wouldn't have known about when I was 15, 16, 17 writing my first album. The feelings that I felt when I was going to America last year to do this writing trip for my third album was a lot of anxiety, and I was very nervous. There was a bit of doubt, in myself about how well I could write as a songwriter, especially being, flying over to America and writing songs, I think, is something that I've always envisioned as a young girl wanting to be a singer. For me, it felt like a bit of a peak to be able to go and do that. So I think I did put a lot of pressure on myself. Once I got over there was this feeling of, it sounds really cringe, but I think once I got there, I literally felt like I could do anything. America has this thing where it just makes you feel like there are so many opportunities, especially when you're in LA and New York. And the people that I was working with really just kind of made me feel like what I'm doing is worth it, and that I'm actually really good at what I'm doing, and I need to believe in myself a lot more. So it was scary at first, but it ended up being a really inspiring trip. The first couple of songs that I wrote on the album that kind of, cemented in me that this was going to be the start of a new record was probably Killing You and Say It To My Face, even though Say It To My Face isn't on the album. But I felt like that was the start of a really great trip, and I felt like I was in a bit of a roll. And every time I wrote a song in America, I just felt like my songwriting was just getting better and better. And after we even came back from the US and we ended up writing I'm Getting Bored of This, which ended up kind of being the catalyst for me calling the album Head Noise. And I think it's definitely one of my favorite songs on the record. Another really personal song on this album is called Why Did You Leave? And it was probably the first time in my life that I've written a song that fast. I remember going to sleep one night and I just really couldn't sleep at all. I was really struggling to go to bed, and I picked up my phone and I ended up just writing all of these words out because I'd lost two friends to suicide earlier that year, and these songs just kind of fell out of me. And when I woke up in the morning, the verse and chorus was pretty much written, which is probably the first time in my life this has ever happened to me. And it just ended up being a really cathartic way for me to just talk about, all of those emotions and about something that I had never experienced before. And I think it was a really nice way of me being able to connect through music with those feelings, and hopefully letting other people connect with it as well that are going through the same thing, because it's a really unfortunate thing, depression and mental health. And so many people in the world go through it, and I just really hope that this song helps families and people that are going through that to kind of be open about how they're feeling. I think the best moment that my band and I connected when we were recording this album was definitely just being in the studio together. The way we recorded this record is so different to what I've ever done. Chris kind of put us all in this big live room together and we just played the songs over and over again. And we'd never played these songs together before going into the studio. And we were just, sat together. There was Baz, my drummer, in one corner on the drum kit, and then Tommy, my guitarist, or Lockie, who filled in some days, sitting like to my right on the guitar. And then I was sitting there with the guitar sometimes or not, but just singing. And then Chris was in the control room on the bass. And it was just really cool to just be playing them over and over again until something felt right. And I feel like it was a really good way of knowing when something didn't feel as good, because you could just change it there and then in that moment. I guess having everyone involved as well, because sometimes there's a lot of waiting around when you're recording, but I felt like this was really cool to have my band all together and it be like a full band thing, and it just feels really raw and vibey, and I don't think I would ever want to record another way ever again. Sugar Drop Festival is a festival that I've been putting on in my hometown in Mackay in Queensland since last year. Last year was our first, I guess, time doing it, and it's something that I've wanted to do ever since I started playing shows outside of Mackay, I guess. I really wanted to bring other bands from around Australia to Mackay. I know how hard it can be to be a regional artist, and I guess having those opportunities come that far up north is really rare. And I just wanted like local bands to be able to have those opportunities and to be able to hang out backstage with some bands they might not have been able to, I guess, mingle with anywhere else. So I think it's really important bringing those kind of experiences into places like Mackay, and it's also just like a fun thing to be doing, and like I'm really excited that I get to play there like once a year, have my own little festival going on, and like to be able to curate that, I think is a really fun thing to do. I'm really looking forward to having the Terrys up in Mackay, and also having a really good friend of mine, Jem Casadeli, coming and playing. I think the lineup's really cool, like Peach Fur are coming up as well. This year we're actually having a couple of DJs. So I'm really excited to keep expanding it. And I hope that next year it just gets bigger and better. And I'm really excited to give like local bands the opportunity to play. My most mind-blowing moment to date, I think, would have to be when my single Strangers went platinum, and when my first album Thick Skin went gold. It's definitely something I never thought would happen, and especially being an independent artist, sometimes those kind of things can feel really out of touch and really far away from happening. So to have that happen, being an independent person and releasing stuff through my own label, I'm just really proud of it, because it's always been me, my mum, and my other manager, Asher. My mum is also my manager. So it's just been us three. It really felt like we were on the right path, and it's really nice to just see those hanging up in the house. And I don't know, whenever I'm feeling like shit, I just look at those and it kind of reminds me that I can keep doing it. The advice I would give myself a year from now would be, keep looking after your mental health, look after your physical health, and be proud of everything that you've done, and don't be so hard on yourself, because everybody goes through shit, and I don't know, you just have to stay in your own lane and not compare yourself to anyone else. And it's really hard not to do that, but I think it's just something you have to do to go ahead.